Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, April 16th, 2019, and this is the second hearing for the month of the City of Tempe Hearing Officer. My name is Vanessa McDonald, and I am the hearing officer for the city. I'm going to read something into the record this afternoon, and then we'll jump right into our agenda. The City of Tempe Hearing Officer is authorized by Arizona Revised Statutes and the City of Tempe Zoning and Development Code. The hearing officer has the duty to carry out both the provisions and the intent of the Zoning and Development Code and the Tempe City Code. The hearing officer is granted the authority through ZDC Section 6-310 to conduct public hearings to decide upon the abatement of code violations occurring on properties within the City of Tempe. Code violations include, but aren't limited to, deteriorated landscaping, inoperable vehicles, deteriorated structures, storage of junk or refuse, or deteriorated swimming pools. Abatement actions are brought before the hearing officer by the city's Code Compliance Division, typically after numerous attempts at contacting the property owner to obtain voluntary compliance with the code. The hearing officer may issue an order directing the owner, occupant, rental agent, property manager, or other responsible person to abate a code violation or authorize the city to abate the condition giving rise to that violation. The cost of such abatement is the responsibility of the owner of the property where the violation occurred and may be collected as an assessment against the property found to be in violation. On today's agenda, we have 8 items. We have a set of minutes and we have 7 different property abatements. As the hearing officer, I review the Community Development Department report on the items being considered at this meeting. I use this report as part of my decision. I use the testimony of the code compliance officers here this afternoon. And additionally, I do drive by each of the sites on the agenda so that I can have a good understanding of the conditions of the property. I tend to do that the weekend before. You'll hear me ask the code compliance officers, if there have been any changes to the property as of today's date. Any property who's aggrieved by a decision of the hearing officer can file an appeal within 14 calendar days after the hearing officer's made a decision. Accordingly, the deadline for appealing any decision rendered today is 3 p.m. on April 30th, 2019. And abatement appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustment, after which they also may be appealed to the Superior Court. The property owner has 14 days after today's decision to either file an appeal or bring the property into code compliance. If neither of these things happen by this date, then the property will be abated by the city. Again, to make some introductions, my name's Vanessa McDonald. Joining me from Community Development are Brittany Nelson and Steve Abrahamson. So now we're ready to go into our agenda. The first item on the agenda is a set of minutes from the hearing held on April 2nd, 2019, and I believe that those minutes, I reviewed them in my packet, and I believe they accurately reflect what took place at that hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and approve the minutes for April 2nd, 2019. The second item on the agenda is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the Lauren property located at 1220 South Mill Avenue. The applicant is the City of Tempe, and this afternoon we have Andres Lara Reyes.
Good evening.
Mr. Reyes.
Yes, my name is Andres Lara Reyes. I'm here to represent the City Code Compliance Division to request an abatement at the property at 1220 South Mill Avenue, Tempe, Arizona, 85281. The owner is Jody Lauren. The property is in violation for a dead tree in the backyard. This violation has been going on since March of 2018. The owner has been found responsible for this violation in civil court. And also this morning, the property remains in violation, the backyard.
So in my packet, and what I observed is there's a tree stump, a dead tree in the backyard, and also other debris in the driveway. Is that still the case as of this morning?
The front of the property has been taken care of.
Okay.
I'm just here to request an abatement for the backyard, the dead tree.
Okay.
Yes.
So that is a little bit different than what's contained in the staff report. So as of this morning,
Correct.
that is
The
the
backyard's still in
current
violation
condition
for dead tree. Correct.
of the property. Okay, I drove this one on last Thursday, I believe.
Okay.
So that's why I'm relying on your
Right.
testimony this afternoon. And I, at the time, I agreed with you then, so if it is unchanged, I would agree with you now. Is there any member of the public here this afternoon, either the property owner or neighbor, who'd like to speak? Okay. If you can state your name for the record.
My name is Jody Loren,
Okay,
property owner.
okay.
Can I give you pictures, or does that,
When were they taken?
just this morning?
Sure.
But they don't change anything, it's just to state, to show what I'm talking about.
Thank you. And I'll look at these, and then they will be put into the record
Thank you.
after today.
I'm going to go ahead and just read my statement, which includes a little bit about the front yard as well. The initial removal of my 80-plus-year-old tree was brought to my attention within 2 days of purchasing my home in April of 2018. Ironic, the same exact thing happened when I purchased the property just south of my home in May of 2017. A notice was sent literally 2 days after the sale. Ironic? I don't think so. I've been told by the hearing officer on numerous occasions that he does not write citations unless neighbors have complained about a certain matter, regardless if it's a violation of code or not. I have specifically asked Mr. Reyes if he personally had a problem with my tree, and he said no. I've asked on numerous occasions to provide me with which neighbors are supposedly reporting this tree, and I have been told that those are not available to me either. The tree stump in my front yard has been removed. The tree stump was left behind when the tree removal took place. I was hoping to carve it and have artwork. And again, I was told by Mr. Reyes that he would not permit that. I find that to be absolutely prejudiced in so many ways, for the reason that there are hundreds of tree stumps throughout Tempe, of which many have been there for many, many years, and they're allowed to remain as long as no one makes a complaint, according to Mr. Reyes. As stated, the tree stump has been removed, and that portion is moot. As for my backyard tree, I've asked on numerous occasions, again, to be provided with which neighbors are supposedly reporting this tree issue, and I've been told that those names, etc., are not available to me. I have formally asked for them in preparation for court, denied. I have asked for them, for this documentation from Jeff, and I don't know how to say his name.
Samulevich.
Thank you, to no avail. It is my right to fully represent myself, and if you're attempting to remove an item from my backyard, I believe those items and those names should be presented to me. Again, I was told directly by Mr. Reyes that he would not be doing anything about my backyard tree except for my neighbors have complained. I expect proof of those neighbor complaints. As you can see from the pictures, I do have a dead tree in my backyard. It has been there literally for years. Not until I purchased the property has there been an issue. That tree is the home of a honeybee colony that's been there for numerous years. There's approximately 25,000 bees in that tree, and that tree is full of honey. The bees travel at a higher level, disturbing no one. The complaint is not about the bees, but about their home. And as you should be aware, as a community, we are already endangering our bees, and to remove them from this tree would be devastating. I will not disrupt these bees and their home environment because somebody supposedly made a complaint about the tree, a tree that has not even been visible outside of my yard. And you can see, if you drove by, it's hard to see that tree at all. And you can tell from the pictures. I've spoken with beekeepers who have all said that the process of removing the trees is timely, costly, and temporary because most of the bees will try to come back. Additionally, if the bees are removed from the tree, due to the fact that the tree is full of honey, that thousands of rodents from miles away will travel because of the honey waste, etc. Removing this tree at this time is not necessary and will be tragic to this honeybee colony. I am the neighbor directly south of the property. I own the clubhouse on the corner. I have no neighbors in front of me. My neighbor to the south of me, Brian Sandel, has written a letter. He has never made a complaint about this tree whatsoever or any of the trees on my property. There's no neighbors behind me except for the empty lot and the squatters that I'm sure you have seen that are living there now, which we have all complained about, and nothing has been done to this day. Mr. Reyes literally has to get on the cab of his truck to take pictures of my tree. I caught him doing that. And so to me, if you have to climb on the top of your truck to take pictures because you cannot see it, how is that a nuisance to anybody? I don't understand that. I'm appalled that I even have to be here to deal with this matter and have been harassed over and over since my purchase of this home just a year ago. We have no homeowners association. Yes, we do have city ordinance, but if it applies to one, then it applies to all. Mr. Reyes has told me over and over he does not write citations unless someone complains. He literally said that in court. Then show me the proof if somebody has complained. Otherwise, this matter is nothing but pure harassment. And then I actually arrived today and I see that we have tree stumps out here as your decoration. So I'm even more appalled at this situation. So I would just ask that my tree be allowed to remain standing because it is not an eyesore or does not affect anybody in my neighborhood whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other member of the public wanting to speak on this agenda item? I don't see. So, Mr. Reyes, did you want to add anything or address anything to what Ms. Loren?
No, not at this time. We have gone over the guidelines for the property and the violation, and we just feel that we need to abate this property in order to bring it into compliance.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
it? Yep, thanks.
Thank you. Well, Ms. Lauren, I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and you heard me read at the beginning of this hearing that the hearing officer is required to enforce both the zoning and development code and the Tempe City Code, which has clear standards for deteriorated landscaping. A dead tree is considered deteriorated landscaping. It can be distinguished between a tree that's just dormant for a season. You know, a lot of trees drop their leaves. Those aren't considered dead trees. But if a tree has been around long enough, it's not producing leaves, it's not serving any real purpose, then it needs to be considered deteriorated landscaping. I understand that there's a bee colony there. That can be removed. I know there's volunteer beekeepers who will come and do that because they do have an interest in the bee population. I've had an experience with that of my own. But I do agree with the code compliance officer's assessment of this property with my own observation. You're right, it was hard to distinguish, but nevertheless, I could see it in the backyard of the property. Also, as I mentioned prior or at the beginning of the hearing, any abatement today, you still have 2 weeks to remediate the problem, which means if you want to take the tree down on your own, you're free to do that, and then the city, won't be abating the property. But within that 2-week window, either you would need to remediate the deteriorated landscaping or file an appeal that I also mentioned earlier this afternoon. And this item would be heard by the Board of Adjustment. But at the moment, given the current state of the property, given the duration and numerous attempts at compliance, I'm going to go ahead and grant the city's application for the abatement contained in application CE 181300. Thank you. The third item on our agenda is for an abatement of public nuisance items at the Polchow property. This property is located at 1964 East El Parque Drive. Mr. Glab.
Good evening. Michael Glab, Residential Code Inspector for the City of Tempe. I'm here tonight in reference to this property at 1964 East El Parque Drive here in Tempe. In August and September of 2018, I observed a violation of deteriorated landscape, some grass and weeds and gravel. I mailed notices to the property owners, 2 of them. In December of 2018, I observed that the deteriorated landscape remained, and so I posted a notice to the structure itself. And then in January of 2019, I noted that the violation remained and issued a citation to the resident. There is a resident at the property while the owners reside at a different property. The resident had requested an extension, so there was a bit of additional time there given between the August and September violations and then December violation. In total, between September 2018 and February of 2019, approximately 16 voicemails were received from the residents offering excuses for lack of compliance, requesting extensions, advising me that the work was completed, or then advising me that the work would be completed shortly. 3 extensions were granted throughout this time frame. As a result of the property still being in violation as of today, which I can provide a photograph to
Please
show,
do.
I would like to seek approval for 180-day open abatement period for this particular property. And I've circled in red the areas that are still in violation at this moment in time. Progress has been made. This entire landscape was filled with grass and weeds when I started this case and requested abatement of the addition to tonight's agenda. But there's still overheight grass and weeds present on this side yard. Dead grass and weed pile at the front of the house, and then dead grass and weeds pile of trash bags right here at the base of this tree. So at this time, I'd like to seek a 180-day open abatement period, as the resident clearly has little to no intention of maintaining the property.
Okay, thank you. Is there a member of the public or the resident here this afternoon to speak on agenda item number 3? I don't see anyone here. It is markedly different than some of the photographs that we've seen, but I do agree with your assessment that, I mean, given your patience, I think has been extraordinary with this property owner. I mean, normally we don't take, what is it, 6 months, 7 months now? So, you know, I appreciate the patience that you've exhibited, and you've given them plenty of opportunity to bring it up to code. So I am going to go ahead and approve the abatement contained in CE 185599 for the 180 days you're seeking.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This brings us to agenda item number 4, a request for abatement of nuisance items at the East Line Land Ventures LLC property. This is located at 2034 East Wildermuth Avenue. And again, Mr. Glab.
Good evening. Again, in reference to this property at 2034 East Wildermuth Avenue here in Tempe, my office received a complaint in October of 2018 related to issues at the property, dead trees, junk and debris, transients on the property. Additionally, I had been in contact with the police department and confirmed that they were burdened with calls for service for this area related to transient squatters, trespassing type of situations at the property. As a result of those complaints, I then sent notices of violations to the property owners listed with the county in October and November of 2018. In December of 2018, I did speak with a property manager and advised that if they needed an extension, I was willing to grant it, and then I did end up granting that extension. In January of 2019, I observed that violations still had remained at the property, so I posted a notice to the perimeter fence line that went around the parcel. And since requesting the addition to tonight's agenda, I have been in contact with another property manager related to issues at the property. They have assured me that the work's been completed. Any dead trees have been removed from the property, and any piles of junk and debris have been removed from the property as well. At this time, though, I'd like to submit a photograph showing a dead tree present at the property.
Okay.
I'm sorry, yes. So the property line runs somewhere in this vicinity this way. This would be a neighboring parcel owned by the same owner, but this parcel here would be the 2034 East Wildermuth Avenue. Clearly, there's a dead leafless tree that's got some blackened portions on it. The property manager that I spoke with that left me the message last week had assured me all dead trees had been removed and cut down to ground level. You can see that there is a dumpster present, so some work had been done. And then I'm also under the understanding that the property's in some level of redevelopment. There was a public notice attached to the fence line advising that the first meeting is occurring on the 24th.
Okay.
I would like to seek approval in the event that the property managers, owners decide not to proceed, abandon the project, and or it's denied, and then I still need to have the work done.
Right. Okay, thank you for that update as of today. Is there a member of the public or is the property owner here this afternoon to speak on agenda item number 4? I don't see anyone. So again, yeah, thank you for the update for this afternoon. Again, you've been patient, I think, and gone, you know, kind of above and beyond trying to reach out. Sometimes when it's an LLC owning a property, it's difficult to track down ownership, property managers, and, something like this, it's not like there's a home that you can just go knock on the door. So I agree with you. I agree that, A, it needs to be abated and brought up to code, and also that there's really no reason to wait for the outcome of whatever zoning case or whatever the application is regarding this, because, we all know that those can get continued, hung up in the process. And so I'm going to go ahead and grant your abatement request for CE 187174, the Eastline Land Ventures property. Were you requesting 180 days?
I am.
You are, okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is agenda item number 5. This is a request for abatement of public nuisance items. This is at the Fuji property located at 2227 East MacArthur Drive. Mr. White.
Good evening. My name is Marvin White. I'm Code Inspector with the City of Tempe. I'm here today requesting a 180-day abatement for the property, Fuji property, located on MacArthur at 2227 East MacArthur Drive. This particular property is overgrown with weeds, debris. I have made an attempt to contact the ownership of the property to bring it into compliance. A citation was issued to the property owner. The property owner did return my certified receipt, signed, that he did receive it. And as of today, I went by there and took a picture. And as you can see, the property has not changed much. Still overgrown, so.
If anything, they're just taller.
Yeah, these got a little taller there, absolutely. So I'm just requesting a 180-day abatement from the property up above the overgrown weeds and debris.
Okay.
And bring it into compliance.
Okay. I'll ask, thank you, Mr. White. I'll ask again if the property owner's here. He is an out-of-state property owner. I did note that in the packet. So probably, one of the reasons he hasn't paid attention to the property as well. There's no structure here. Again, it's not like a homeowner or, responsible person can take care of this on site. The property owner's not here. It doesn't look like any member of the public is here this afternoon. So based on your recommendation, my observation, and your numerous attempts at trying to contact him, and frankly, he received your notices and just, chose not to do anything about it. So I'm going to go ahead and approve the 180-day open abatement for the Fuji property located at 2227 East MacArthur. Next item is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the Khalil property. This property is located at 2240 East Apache Boulevard. And again, Mr. White.
Yes, this particular property, I am also requesting a 180-day abatement on the property located at 2240 East Apache Boulevard, the Khalil property. This property here has been a problem as well. It's adjacent, of course, to the Fuji property, vacant partial, overgrown weeds and debris. I have mailed correspondence out to this particular property owner as well, has not received a response back, also has not received my certified receipt back from him as well. I did go by there today and take some photos, and as you can see, the property hasn't changed, and as it got a little the weeds got a little higher and longer, and it's definitely needs to be cleaned up. This particular property owner I've dealt with in the past, and we still haven't been able to bring the property into compliance.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes these vacant parcels, especially when they're, this is a long, skinny parcel when you look at the assessor's map, and I think people just buy them and they almost forget about them and they forget their responsibility to keep them clean and keep them up to code. So frankly, sometimes I think it's easier for them to have the city clean up the property for them. Again, no one's here to speak on this agenda item. I agree with your assessment after your attempts to contact the property owner and with my own observations. So I'm going to go ahead and approve the abatement contained in CM 181306 for the Khalil property located at 2240 East Apache Boulevard. Agenda item number 7 is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the Hart property. This is located at 1201 North Statham Drive. Again, Mr. White.
Yes, this particular property, I am requesting 180-day open abatement on it as well, located at 1201 North Statham Avenue, Drive. Mr. Hart, I have spoken with Mr. Hart. Mr. Hart did reach out to me yesterday by phone and let me know that he is in the process of trying to bring the property into compliance. I did advise Mr. Hart to come down to the hearing officer today, and he can speak with the hearing officer on any concerns he might have. Also, I did receive the certified copy back from him, receipt from the correspondence that I did send to him, so he is aware of what's going on. I did go by the property today, and as you can see, Mr. Hart has been making progress. We have several dead trees on the property, overgrown weeds and debris. As I can see today, the several of the dead trees, he has cut 2 of them down, 1 of them halfway down, in the process of getting that taken care of. He still has some more work to do, so we are willing to work with him, but we still would like the 180-day abatement to make sure the property does remain in compliance, and he continues to bring the property into compliance.
Okay. Thank you. Is Mr. Hart here? Is that you? If you'd like to come forward, please.
Sure.
So you've heard how Mr. White presented your case, correct? Did you have anything to add?
Not much. I'm in the process of getting it taken care of. It's about over half down. There's 5 trees that have been cut down, and 3.5 of them are all gone. That's all the debris and everything. So I front 2 streets, Tempe Drive and Statham Drive. Tempe Drive pretty much got finished today, but on Statham, there's mesquite that still has to be cut up, and then some weeds and stuff on that side of that needs to be cleaned up. I hope to have it all done by today, but the guy that was coming over and working, he didn't show up.
Okay.
Or he did finally show up again today, but he didn't show up Friday or Saturday or Sunday or Monday, but.
Yeah, it's hard when you're relying on the
Right,
labor
yeah.
of other people.
But anyway, it's getting there. I took some more pictures before he came over here. I don't know what time he came by, but he did make some progress today, so.
Okay. Well, the best part about this process is what I talked about earlier in the hearing when I read my preamble, and I talked about there's a 2-week window between a decision that I render today. If I render the decision to abate the property, you still have a 2-week window within which you can remediate the property, so you can continue on the path that you've already set towards improving your property. So if within the next 2 weeks, and it sounds like you're close, and I applaud you on all the efforts you've made so far, if you take advantage of that 2-week window, then it won't be abated by the city. It'll kind of stay that abatement. Now, with a 180-day open abatement, it is what we would consider almost like a rolling abatement, where we won't abate it immediately, but then a clock kind of starts running for 180 days, during which you're still required to maintain the property. So if you can, stay on the path that you've already set towards improving the property, you have a good 2 weeks within which you can finish it, and then Mr. White, will have no reason to come out and, bring the city people to come out and clean your property.
Okay, well, there's a good chance I can get it done in 2
Yeah.
weeks, as long as I get people to show up.
Perfect. It sounds like you're close, and I thank you for that. But, nevertheless, just because of the, what's brought us to this point, the numbers of attempted outreach and, kind of the slow progress, I think I am going to approve the abatement today, and then you'll have that 2-week window to work within. And then ultimately, like if we do abate the property, if the city does abate the property, your property will be cleaned up, and it'll be a nice starting point moving forward.
Well, it'll be cleaned up, so I'm not worried about it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So again, I just want to reiterate for Mr. White's benefit and for the public record that I am approving the abatement contained in CM 190033 for the Hart property located at 1201 North Statham Drive. The last item on our agenda this evening is agenda item number 8. This is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the Zhu property. This property is located at 2244 East Apache Boulevard. Mr. White.
Yes, I'm here today requesting 180-day open abatement on the property located at 2244 East Apache Boulevard. This particular property has been a problem for us. It has been abated twice since 2016. The property owner is unable to be contacted. I haven't received any contact from him. He as well has been sent correspondence as well as citation to bring the property into compliance. Today, to no avail. I did go by the property today and took some photos of the property. As you can see, it actually got worse. There's a couple of unsecured buildings that need to be boarded up as well. As you can see, the overgrown weeds and debris, and it has just been a problem for us. So this particular property, we're I think is going to be a problem property from here on out until something becomes of that property, because this will be the third abatement for that property.
I remember this property. We have what I call frequent flyers, and when I see the last name, I clearly remember, these properties from previous abatements. And again, this is the Apache Boulevard. It's a redevelopment area. A lot of these have been bought strictly for investment purposes.
Absolutely.
And they're waiting, to either sell the property or to develop it on their own. But nevertheless, I know I appreciate being part of the process to keep the city and these properties, clean and up to code while we're waiting for that eventual development to come through. So based on the condition of the property this morning, the outreach efforts and lack of response on the part of the property owner, I'm going to go ahead and abate the nuisance items at 2244 East Apache Boulevard contained in application CM 190171, and that is a 180-day open abatement.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our agenda this afternoon. Staff, do you have any comments?
No, thank you, Hearing Officer McDonald.
Okay, our next hearing will be on May 7th, 2019. We're adjourned.